Okay, today for chapter 4.4, we're going to multiply using the expanded form, and we're also going to multiply the usual way, the typical way, the way that you guys may have done it before. It might be that you've done it this way before too, but this is sort of a newer method. So I just want to show it to you real quick. It uses a box, and you just fill the box with the multiplication number, and I'll show you how to do that. So any old box will do is this is for multiplying two-digit numbers by two-digit numbers because there's two columns and two rows. So for instance, say we multiply, not that, let's change my, there we go. Say we multiply 46 by 32. Okay, this is how we might write it the regular way. But if we write it in the expanded form, we're going to think of it as 40 plus 6. 46 is like 40 plus 6. And 32, excuse me, I keep writing things that I shouldn't be, is like 30 plus 2. Okay, so this is 32 and this is 46. And we're going to multiply each of these four pieces. Okay, so we're going to use our grid here. And we're going to just think 40 times 30. All right, 4 times 3 is 12. Plus the two zeros is 1200. Okay, that's for this first one. 6 times 30 is 18. Plus the 0 equals 180. 40 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8, plus the 0 is 80, or 40 times 2 is 80. And 6 times 2 is just 12. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to record all my answers, all of these answers, and add them together. Okay, I'm going to add these answers together. So I've got 1200, 180, 80, and 12. And I need to make sure, that I've got my place values lined up. All the ones places, all the tens, the hundreds, and the thousands lined up so that my twos are lined up with the other ones places like this. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just add those together. 0 plus 2, 8 plus 8 plus 1. Carry that 1 because that's 17. 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4. Bring my 1 down. So it should be 1,472. This is method 1. Okay, this is using a model. Okay, and the model shows us that when we multiply 46 times 32, we really could think of this as multiplying 40 plus 6 times 30 plus 2, almost like this. Using parentheses times 30 plus 2. And it's almost like that distributive property that we talked about before, where this one, the 40, gets multiplied by each of the two things inside the other parenthesis, and the 6 gets multiplied by each of those two things, and so it's all multiplied by each other. This is the new method, at least it's what I think of as the new method, and it works great. Okay, it's pretty quick. It takes a little more paper, but it's kind of fun, and it helps us to understand place value a little bit and what's happening in the numbers. The old way is just to multiply. Make sure that they do it that way. They do. 46 times 32. We should get the same answer for either method. Okay, 2 times 6, using this method, 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Okay. Multiplying 30 times 46. So this was just 2 times 46. 2 times 46 is 92. 3 times 46, of course this isn't really 3, it's really 30. That's why we start by adding a 0. Okay, so it's really 30 times 6. 18, or 180. 180, and then 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Add these together. Carry that 1. And it looks like we got the same number. These match. Okay, so that's a pretty good way to check. Okay, this is a great way to multiply using the expanded form. And since this chapter is about decimals, that's really what we need to be doing. So I'm going to show you another one using a decimal. It's really not any harder. It's a little scary at first, but I think we can make it work. So let's use the one from the book. They use 46 times 9.8. And then they write it out. I guess get that box, put the box together. As quickly as possible. Okay, and then 46 is 40 plus 6. And 9.8 is 9 plus 0.8. Okay, I think that makes sense to you. That should. And then we're going to go ahead and multiply. We're going to start with the big one here. 9 times 4, 9 times 40, is 36 plus a 0. So 9 times 40 is 360. 9 times 6 is 54. And then 4 times 0.8. Okay, 40 times 0.8. This is an interesting one because we've been learning in the previous lesson how to get rid of that decimal. We multiply by 10 equals 8. And then after we get done with that, we're going to multiply by 0.1 to put that decimal back in. So let's just think 40 times 8 without that, because we're going to use this number. 40 times 8 is 320. And then you multiply by that 0.1 or 1/10, and the decimal comes in, and it really ends up just being 32. 32 or 32.0. That's trying to put a little decimal in there. Okay, and then we do the same thing over here. 6 times 8 is 48. And then we put the decimal back in, so we multiply by 10 to get this multiply by 10 so that we're multiplying by 8 instead of 0.8. Just that's 48, and then multiply by 1/10 to get the decimal back in. It's 4.8. Okay, so this should make sense from the last lesson. And then we'll go ahead and add up those things. Start with the biggest one. You don't have to, you can start with any one, but to me it makes sense to do it that way. Now I can add my 0.0, but then I almost have to add 0.0s everywhere I go. And I guess I might as well, because I have a 4.8 here at the bottom. And make sure that your decimals are lined up so that your place values are lined up. This whole column is tenths, this whole column is ones, this column is tens, and this column is hundreds. And then we go ahead and add. All right, 0 plus 8. Bring our decimal down 2. 4 plus 2 plus 4 is 10. Carry the 1. 12, 15, and 4. So 450.8. Using our model. Okay. Using method number 2. Well, let's see. I think I need a little more space than that, so we'll come over here. 46 times 9.8. Now they use an arrow, okay, and they point to times 10 to get rid of 9.8. That's what the book tends to do. So they'll write it like this: 46 times 98. We got rid of that decimal because we multiplied this factor times 10. And then when we get done, we're going to multiply our answer times 1/10 to get that decimal back in there. Okay, so that's basically what happens here. That won't look very good. Let's see. What? I guess we'll use this lighter color blue. All right, 8 times 6, 48. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 4 is 36. Now we're going to multiply 90 times 46, so I have to add the 0 here to hold that place value. And then 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 4 is 36. Plus 5 is 41. And then add 8 plus 0, 6 plus 4, carry the 1, is 10, and then 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 0, 8. Now see, this doesn't quite match with this yet, but it will when we multiply. Actually, I guess it should be this one as times. Multiply this one times 0.1 so that it's back in the format of 46 times 9.8 equals 15, 0, 150.8. Now see, I only need to put one decimal place back in because I'm just multiplying by 1/10 because I only multiplied by 10 over here. Okay, 150.8. Oh, weird, that's 4, huh? And this should be a 4 too. 450.8. Thanks for noticing that mistake, guys. You noticed. Smiley face for you. Good job. Okay, let's do one more, and then you can get out of here, okay? You just got to get the idea of doing these boxes, all right? It's just important. 27 times 8.6. You just have to be able to get these boxes to work. And you're just splitting it apart. Okay. When you do this, you do 6 times 7. And you do 2 times 6, which is just 20 times 6. So, for instance, when you do math, when you do multiplication the traditional way, you have to take this 6 and multiply it by the 7, and that's this answer right here, 6 times 7. Okay, and you take this 6 and you multiply by 2, which is really times 20. Oh, I almost forgot to add by 20. This is 20 plus 7, not 2 plus 7. 2 plus 7 would be 9. All right, so 20 plus 7 is 27, and 8 plus 0.6 is 8.6. Okay, so back to what we were doing. This is exactly the same thing. It's just changing it into a square format instead of just an up and down thing that we have going over here. All right, so I'm going to start with the 8 times 20, which is really just 8 times this 2. 8 times 2, but this 2 stands for 20 because it's in the tens place. That's what, that's what the difference is, and it's going to help us understand the place value just a little bit better. So 8 times 2 is 16, which means that 8 times 20 is 160. 8 times 5 is 8 times 7 is 56. There we go. 20 times 6, well, 2 times 6 is 12. Add that 0, but then I have to, see, there's this decimal place. If I multiply by 10 and then divide by 10, I put that decimal, so it's 12.0. Okay, and then 7 times 6 is 42, and I multiply by 10 and then divide by 10 to get that decimal place back in. Now I did that quickly. The cheating way is to know that if there's one decimal place in the question, there needs to be one decimal place left over in the answer. So when I do 7 times 0.6, I just imagine that it's 7 times 6. Which would be 42. And then I put that one decimal place back in. And here I just imagine that it's 20 times 6, which would be 120. And then I have to remember there's one decimal place, so it becomes just 12. Okay, then I'm going to add 160 plus 56 plus 12.0 plus 4.2, and again making sure you get everything lined up. If you don't line it up, it does not work. It actually is going to cause you lots of problems. 6, 10, 12, carry the 1, 12, 13, carry the 1, and this becomes 232.2 if I did it right and if I didn't make any mistakes. And the traditional way, let's do some purple. 27 times 8.6. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 4 is 16. Start with a 0 because this is a placeholder for this 8. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 2 is 16. It's 21. Add, I'm running out of room, so 2 plus 0 is 2. 6 plus 6 is 12. 1, 2, 3, 2. 232. All right. There we go. 2, 2, 3, 2. 232. 2,322, but I have to remember that there is one place value to put back in, decimal. Now they match. Okay? That's all there is to it. Please pay special attention to the box at the top of page 174. It shows you how to add the decimal, or how to get rid of the decimal and then add it back in. Okay, in case you didn't understand what I did on my video. And also the box on page 173. We did that on paper. We did that in this video. So if you want help getting that page done, you can watch the video for that one. And then on page 176 is a sort of a story problem there. You got to just work through that, and the test prep problem. Those are what get you ready for the test. So you got to do those. Special attention to those. If you need help with it, you can talk to me later. Have a good evening or afternoon or whatever it happens to be.